What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Island Time podcast. I know it's been a little bit, but today's a big day. Isles hockey is back. As a matter of fact, game one just ended, and this is kind of what we're here recording about. We're getting our initial reactions to the first game of the season, which also happened to be 2025 first overall pick, Matthew Schaefer's NHL debut, alongside Maxim Shabanov, who also made his debut. Obviously, he's a few years older than Schaefer. So Schaefer got a majority of the attention, but for the third time, the Islanders played Pittsburgh to open up the season. The last time they did so was in 2009 when John Tavares made his NHL debut. He lost to Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins by a score of 4-3. Tonight, Matthew Schaefer, defenseman, looks to open up his career against Sidney Crosby and the Pens. Same exact result, 4-3 loss. So the Penguins take the first one of the season and surprisingly move up to 2-0 for the season. They beat the Rangers last night 3-0. They obviously come out on top tonight 4-3 against the Isles. But Lucas, I want to get your initial thoughts. What did you see? What did you like from that game that the Islanders played? Because personally, I don't think it was that terrible of a game for the Islanders.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my expectations heading into this season, this game was look to develop and really go from there. They're not bad enough to be a bottom seven, bottom 10 team, not good enough to be a contender. Just wanted to see improvement. Um, First things straight out of the gate, obviously, the young guys and the new guys, I should say overall. Schaefer, Shabanov, Druin all made an instant impact. Obviously, Shabanov with a goal, Schaefer with an assist, primary, and then that being the primary assist onto Druin's first goal as an Islander. Instant impact for those three, noticeable all night, up and down the lineup, wherever they played. Overall, really not much bad that I can say other than the special teams, which we can get to in a little bit. I could point out a little mistake here and there on that fourth goal. Romanov kind of getting flat-footed. Pass really just off the wall into space and then taken to the net. Great move. Can't really get mad at Sorokin for that one. Overall, even Sorokin played great. Yeah, not much to complain on from my end. Overall, a decent first game, unfortunate result, but definitely something they can take into the next one.
Yeah, I mean, if we're sticking to the positives, we're going to shy away from the special teams. As you mentioned, I mean, me personally, I think that was the difference maker in this one. Obviously, a 4-3 loss when you give up two on the PK, that doesn't help. But sticking to the positives, Matthew Schaefer, what about the kid, huh? I mean, he came in obviously head up. He has all the confidence in the world. I love it. He was looking forward to tonight. You heard him speaking this morning after morning skate. He was asked about playing guys like Crosby, Malkin, Letang, kind of just playing his first game in the National. And, as always, he was calm, cool, and collected. Hey, I'm gonna be dialed today. Like, it is what it is. We're gonna look back. We're gonna have memories to look back on. But while we're playing the game, it's just another hockey game. So I loved how Matthew Schaefer looked. I mean, he jumped into plays. He was playing the Matthew Schaefer that we saw and love. Shabanov, obviously, he scored. What a rocket, first off. But I mean, this kid, he has a few years of professional hockey under his belt. So that obviously works in his favor. And he kind of showed that. It was a smaller rink, which could make it tougher for a smaller player, but he's shifty. He's fast. Maybe the small ice. I don't want to say makes it easier for him because as a forward, I assume you prefer the Olympic-sized rink. But he's had training camp. He had rookie camp to kind of adjust to that ice. And it looked like he seemed fairly comfortable. Going to Sorokin now, I mean, I don't think he looked bad. He made a lot of timely saves. He kept the Islanders in it for a majority of the game, but then again, he had a couple of hiccups. That first goal that he let up, Malkin's, he thought he had it. It got poked loose. Listen, it happens. That's the first goal of the season that he lets up, but it's definitely one that he wants back and one that if he could have back might be the difference in this game. I mean, generally the Islanders power play didn't look that bad. They were moving it. Like towards the end of the game, the last minute and a half, Sorokin on the bench. Who do they have all the confidence in the world with? Matthew Schaefer. Matthew Schaefer's running the point in the last minute, down 4-3. I don't care that it's the Penguins. That's his first NHL game. You know who I think of? It's another rookie, Zeev Buium. He was out there in the final minute of his first NHL game, which just so happened to be game one of the playoffs for the Wild. So it shows how much confidence that the Islanders and obviously the Wild, using that example, have in their young defensemen. and it shows what they're capable of. And they came out and they really impressed. Obviously, you mentioned Schaefer's primary assist. That was within the first 15 minutes of his NHL career. Made a beautiful pass in the slot for Druin, who it might have been a fluke, but hey, they all count the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, my biggest thing for Schaefer, obviously the awareness and then the maturity, all that stuff that he has, but it's obviously going to grow over time. Biggest thing for me that I took, obviously as advertised with the skating, but to actually see it in an NHL game now. And I'm going to be lucky enough to go and see that up close on Saturday. He flies, man. And his transition game with Barzal, I know that they, slightly timing was off, which again makes complete sense. First pro game together. Um, but his two-way transition game is unbelievable, and just the dynamics that that's going to put in for this team. Not only obviously him and Barzal, but just it's a trickle down effect. Even as a rookie, that's the craziest bit about this is I'm talking about a guy who literally has just played his first NHL game and how what he does is going to have a trickle down effect in the rest of the lineup to your guys like D'Angelo and your back end skaters. Um, yeah, again, he played fantastic. Not going to try and overhype the kid, but obviously there's a lot to hype up about. To my whole prediction that I had given out, which we can kind of get into now. On the Instagram, hey, we both kind of gave three bold predictions. We both had. I think we should both start with our ones. Both kind of touching on Schaefer. If you want to go first.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't want to sit and overhype the kid, but there is a lot to hype up. There's a lot to be excited for. During his interview in one of the preseason games during the period, Matthew Darsh ended off when asked about Matthew Schaefer. He goes, "This kid's as advertised." I mean, those are some pretty strong words to use for an 18-year-old. I mean, he must feel that confidence. So going into those predictions, I think that confidence carries through the entire season. Matthew Schaefer showed us in game one. He has an apple. He's on the score sheet. He might not have that first goal, but I'm sure that monkey's off his back. You know what I mean? He played his first game, and against what better competition than a trio that's been together for 20 plus years? You know what I mean? So he definitely came out. He showed up, and my prediction was that Schaefer will be a top five or will be top five in Calder Trophy votings by the end of the year. But I'll also add that I had Shabanov in the top five as well. So I think that both the Islanders superstar rookies will be in the Calder voting or at least in the race. And I don't think that that's that hot of a take because, well, you got a first overall player. And then on the other side, you have a 24-year-old who has 3 years of KHL experience putting up nearly a point per game.
Yeah. I mean, kind of to piggyback, obviously my first one was kind of going hand in hand with that. I have him, and I've said it multiple times in episodes that we've done in the past and on Instagram posts. I have him getting 40 plus points this year. Um, I just don't see a way around it. I think tonight was, even more to back what I have been saying for months now, that he is so far along already in his development process, in the maturity and the way that he handles himself, not only on game days, he had like 20 to 30 family and friends that were there
Hmm?
tonight. And the first thing that he said is, I'm dialed. I'm going to speak to them after. He has no interest in all, you know, the fanfare and all that. And that's all, that's great, but he's dialed and he's locked. And to be able to watch him play and the way that he was able to play tonight, again, Penguins not the best defense, but NHL game's an NHL game. Um, he could have had more than 1 point. He could have had a goal tonight. He could have had another assist on that last in that last minute with that backdoor tap and withdrawing that literally almost trickled across the line. He could have had a multi-point night. He had multiple opportunities. I want to say he had two or three credited shots on goal. And with that, I think he had another four or five thrown at the net that then were deflected on net and credited to other players, which you haven't seen. This is the biggest thing for me with Schaefer. When I look at Islanders over the past decade, even 2 decades, my entire life, defensemen specifically, the number one thing that they struggle to do is put pucks on net. They always look for the tip. The difference with Schaefer is he's looking for the tip, but he's making sure that that puck is in a radius where it's going to be on the net if they miss the tip. Love Pollock, hate to slander him, but he's culprit number one. Him, Dobson, I could name 15 more if you wanted me to. They're always shooting for the tip, 10 feet wide of the net, and it never works. And guess what? When you think of the Islanders, you think of boring hockey, you think of a team that does not shoot the puck. They had 38 shots tonight,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a driving force in that.
I mean, listen, Schaefer, I'm looking at the stats right now. Schaefer only had one shot on goal, but as you said, he was finding the lanes. Maybe the pucks weren't getting to net, maybe whatever the case was, but he was finding the lane. He was doing what he could. A couple guys that I do really want to point out, though, in terms of shots, is Bo Horvat and Kyle Palmieri. Horvat had 7, Palmieri had 8. Then you had Anders who had 4 alongside Barzell. Like we had guys shooting, and that's what we need. We need our guys who could score. We need them to grip it and rip it, and that's what we saw tonight. Obviously, pucks weren't falling, but listen, it happens in the NHL. You're not expected to score 5, 6 goals a night. So they did what they had to do. Tristan Jarry, I tip my cap to him. He made a couple
Played
spectacular
very well.
saves. He made
Yep.
a couple spectacular saves that kept the Penguins ahead, that kept the game tied. Whatever, even keeping the lead short for the Islanders. It was 2-1 at one point, and who was it? It was Druin. It was Druin who almost scored from behind the goal line. So you know what I mean. It's a game of inches, and the Penguins just came out on top. But for you, Schaefer, 40 points. Listen, he's an offensive defenseman. He's shown what he could do. Is that a little bit hot? Even I would say yes, just because he's an 18-year-old in the league. But is it possible?
Yep.
Yes. We saw it in Lane Hudson last year. He had 66 points. Was it 66 points? Yeah, he had 60
Yeah, it
assists.
was
I
in the
know
mid
that much.
60s.
I know he had 60 assists. I know that much. I think he had 6 goals too. But point is, okay, he might have a couple years on Schaefer, but at the end of the day, an offensive defenseman with the right players around him will do the right things. And I feel like tonight
Dangerous.
was an unbelievable start for Schaefer and Shabanov. So the Islanders rookies really have something to look forward to. And when Callum Ritchie's time comes, I'm sure he's going to fit perfectly right in there. Um,
Yeah.
but onto the number 2, because I feel like you had more of younger guys while I focused a little bit more on the vets.
Yep.
Obviously, I feel like the younger guys are a little bit harder to predict just because they're still kind of growing into their shoes, figuring their way out around the league. While on the other side, the vets, you're kind of banking on some of these guys playing in the primes of their careers to kind of show up when it matters. So I'll
Yeah.
kind of get us going with my number 2, quote unquote, bold prediction for this season. And I think that Bo Horvat's going to have a monster season. I think for the first time in his career, he's going to touch 35 plus goals. We saw it a couple seasons ago. The season that he got traded to the island, he was averaging over a point per game in Vancouver. That season, he finished with 33 goals. I don't have the stat in front of me, but I'll double check myself. I'm almost positive that Bo Horvat has only had 2 or 3 30-goal seasons in his career. None
You'd be
exceeding that
correct.
33. None exceeding that 33, and this will be the year that he gets 35. He's got the right players around him. I feel like a good quarterback on the power play is going to make a big difference because at the end of the day, Barzy dishes the puck. Schaefer dishes the puck. D'Angelo dishes the puck. Obviously, you got some scorers, but Lee could dish. Palmieri could dish. But the beauty of them is that they could score too. Bo Horvat, though, he could definitely pass the puck, but he's primarily a shooter. So I'd like to see him rip the puck kind of like he did today, him and Palmieri. Those are our guys. Even Barzy. But Barzy's good with the head fakes, with the fake shots leading into passes. But Bo Horvat, he's gonna break out. He's gonna show us why we traded a former first overall pick and Anthony Beauvillier, a fan favorite for him.
Yeah. And I mean, I can kind of jump right into my 2 because it has something to do with yours as well. I've got his partner right there, Matt Barzal. I've got him breaking his single season points of 85 that he set his rookie year. And hey, if Horvat's going to get 35, I think Barzal is going to be right up there to get his 85. Listen, same exact reasoning I've got for Horvat, or that you have for Horvat, I should say. Um, Finally has the right pieces around him. That top 6, all those guys can score. All those guys are going to contribute on the power play. And it really comes down to, for me, the special teams. And, that's something that obviously is going to always be the talk of the New York Islanders. But to have a competent power play with the right people on it, and I love Pageau, but I'm saying not just throwing Pageau out there and being like, yep, he's on our power play 1. You have the right guys at the end of the game tonight. You've got whether it's we'll say D'Angelo, Barzal, Druin, Horvat, and then you're still picking between Shabanov, Lee, Palmieri, and you've got a list of guys that can go up there with him. So while, like you just said, while Horvat's their sniper, guess what? Barzal's the number 1 guy looking for him in the slot every single time. almost had that exact same combination. Barzal was behind the net tonight with 2 minutes left. Dished it right out in front. Jari robbed them, but right there to Horvat. And we see that every single night, whether that goes in or, it's highway robbery. That duo is going to be coincide, and they're going to, one of them's going to go off, the other one's going to go off. So definitely love the pick that you got. And now I know that you said that you kind of stuck with the veteran presence. So I want to hear a little bit before I get into my three, because mine's, I would say this is my hottest take. I want to hear more about yours. I know that you love, you love yourself some Tony D. So I want to hear this.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm a big believer that on the ice is on the ice, off the ice is off the ice. Obviously, there's certain exceptions. Tony DeAngelo was not, I don't want to say kicked out of the league, but he wasn't getting signed. He didn't have an opportunity in the NHL. He was over in the KHL. Lou Lamoriello gave him a chance last year. It obviously worked in our favor. He played very well. And with the exit of Dobson, Tony DeAngelo kind of stepped right into his place. And guess what? We're going to see a lot of similarities between Dobson and DeAngelo in terms of you might not have the best defensive defenseman, but he will be your number one offensive defenseman. But the main difference between Dobson and DeAngelo is that DeAngelo's a fraction of the price. With that being said, DeAngelo has always been what I like to consider one of the league's better offensive defensemen. We saw it when he was with the Rangers. We saw it when he was in Philly, when he was in Carolina. We saw it multiple different points in his career. My hot take is that Tony D will exceed 45 points, and that will be the fourth time that he's exceeded 40 points in his career. He was just shy of 60 points twice, or no, he was in the 50s twice. He wasn't really close to 60. He was in the low 50s. His career high is 53. So I could see him touching 50. If we have Schaefer at 40, which I don't hate that. I think that it's a possibility. But with him being PP1, I hope that the power play can kind of switch shit around because it's been horrible. And kind of same reasoning. The way that I think that Horvat's going to touch 35 because the power play switches up, I think that DeAngelo touches 45 points just because the power play kind of figures it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Always been a Tony D believer. Like you said, he's going to be on the power play one. He's going to get a lot of opportunities,
At
not
least
only
for
to
the
throw
time
pucks at
being,
the
let
net.
me add. At least for the
Yeah.
time being.
Hey, listen, I said months ago that Schaefer will be up there with him or take
Yeah.
him over at some point. And
Listen,
we
he's going to
saw it
be.
tonight even.
Yeah. That's what I
There
was
was
going to say. I
points
was
where
going to
those two
say.
were playing together.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen at some point. But regardless, Tony DeAngelo has always been so consistent, and everybody wants to forget. Just like you said, you brought up those seasons that he was in the 50s, in the 40s. It's no freebie to be a defenseman in this league and have 40 plus points. I don't think, obviously when you compare it and you see all these defensemen like, here, Jake Sanderson's, your Cale Makars, Quinn Hughes, Yossi, and all these guys that are putting up 60, 70, 80 points, Adam Fox, you kind of lose sight at the fact that they're above and beyond, they're abnormal. But it's ridiculously impressive for a defenseman of any caliber to put 40, 50, 60 points up in a year. And guess what? To have DeAngelo for like you said, literally a third of the cost of what Noah Dobson costs. I think it's a no-brainer. And I think that, like you said, with the power play, and we kind of keep going back to that. But I think the Islanders and the weapons that they were able to add this offseason and what they were able to surround not only the forwards with, but also the defenders, because it goes hand in hand. It's going to make all the difference. He's going to have so many opportunities up on the rush, just like Schaefer had tonight with Barzal. You saw it last year. And yeah, I see absolutely no reason why he doesn't get it. I think he ends up getting like 7 or 8 goals, a few on the power play. And then I think they're mostly primaries too. I don't think it's going to be any of these BS secondary assists, where he touches the puck and it, goes in 45 seconds later when he had absolutely nothing to do with it. That man is sauce first to a 1T in the back of the net every single time. And if it's not him saucing the puck, it's getting put right on his tape and he's ripping one into the top corner. So love the take. Want to get into mine. So you kind of stuck with the veterans. I went with a bunch of the new guys, newcomers. So I went with Emil Heineman. So not a rookie. Doesn't have a full 82 games yet under his belt. I think it's in like 50s, high 50s, low 60s.
Yeah, I
Could
was
be
going to say
wrong.
just about over half a season.
Yep. And so I have him scoring 20 goals in the regular season this year. And this is by far my boldest take. He's starting out on the first line. And, I actually, relate him to an Anders Lee type player. Big body, strong skater, has a knack for the net. And guess what? Anders Lee's on the second line with Barzal. Cool. He's on the first line with Druin and Horvat. He's got plenty of guys around him, veteran presence. Druin likes to pass the puck. Heineman can be in front or on the wall. He's going to get a lot of greasy goals this year. If he doesn't hit 20, I think he definitely hits 15. I think that he's going to be a difference maker for this team down the stretch. And I really believe, the second part of my bold prediction was not only does he have a 20-goal season, have a really, really great first year on the island, and prove that wasn't just a meaningless piece of that Noah Dobson trade. But I think that going forwards into the coming years, he signed that 2-year deal, leads him down the road to next year, whatever that may hold, to an extension and a very important piece of the Islanders rebuild in that middle six.
No, I mean, I love that take, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off you right now and just add that last season he played 62 games for Montreal. His total career games are 68. 68, 69 after tonight. But with that being said, last year he played 62 games with Montreal. He had 10 goals, 8 assists, 18 points. If he could score 10 goals in 62 games, having less of a role than what he's starting with the Islanders, I could see him getting 20 points. He was not a top 6 forward with Montreal last year.
No.
And he still managed to hit double digits in goals. So if he's a consistent top 6 top 6 forward, top 6 winger, he has a really good shot at 20 goals this year. I mean, he's playing with guys that like to dish the puck. So now all he has to do is get open and finish it. That's it. That's his job. So I guess we'll see what he does. But the second thing that I will add is 2 seasons ago, so in the 23-24 season, he was with the Laval Rockets in the AHL. In 48 games, he had 15 goals, 14 assists. So he had 29 points, 48 games, but the emphasis on the 15 goals. Listen, at the end of the day, the AHL is that's a stepping stone to guys to get to the NHL. That's where you see a lot of the league superstars kind of take their first strides. You saw Brock Nelson's for the Islanders. I'm pretty sure Anders Lee. I remember Matt Molson. I'm going way back.
Anders was there.
Kyle Poso, Franz Nielsen, all those guys. Obviously, I'm going back to like when we were kids watching this team, but all the guys that we grew up with, all the guys that we idolized, they all played their fair share in Bridgeport and what was the Sound Tigers, now the Islanders. So I like seeing that production 2 years ago because you could only imagine how much he's grown in 2 years. And even from last year, he's got 62 games under his belt from last year. Now it's time to grow. He knows what it takes, and he's got a bigger role, more minutes. So take advantage of it, and I think that the 20 goals is very, very doable. But I mean, generally, there's so much to be excited for with this team that you could sit and nitpick everything from the defense to the offense to the goaltending. One thing that you mentioned earlier was the depth, and today you noticed it. Like you said, when it came time to pull Sorokin, and we were out there with 6 guys, we had options. We didn't have to just, hey, you've been playing a half decent game, get out of there. Like, okay, you're not just tossing guys left and right. But I also feel like a big role but I feel like a lot of people keep relating back to Lou leaving. I don't think that Lou leaving, okay, it might change the culture and whatever, we've seen that already. But I also feel like it gives Patrick Waugh maybe a little bit more freedom behind the bench.
Absolutely.
And that could work wonders for a team. Now, imagine a coach coaching with some restrictions. And then again, I'm not saying that any of this is true. I don't know what the exact situation is behind the bench. But knowing how Lou used to run the operation, I wouldn't be surprised if he went up to Waugh and was like, this, and this. We already knew that Lou and Trotz had a bit of a head clash. So maybe Waugh changes up his coaching a little bit. Maybe he coaches a little bit more free. I mean, one thing that I noticed today that I really liked that Patrick Waugh did was I don't think he started Matthew Schaefer out there to begin any of the periods. Not the game, not the second, and not the third. And I was so okay with that. And as a matter of fact, I was happy he did that. Why are you going to put more pressure on the kid than he needs? It's his NHL debut. He's already got eyes on him. It's Schaefer versus Crosby. So I think at least in that headspace, he's been there. He's done that. He said, hey, you know what? This kid's already got enough pressure. He's got himself in the right headspace. Don't add more to it. So I like the way that Patrick Waugh approached this game, at least with his game plan.
So I want to kind of now dive into, you mentioned pressure.
Hmm.
So I want to take a look at their upcoming games. So Schaefer gets his first one under his belt tonight. Great on the road. If you could just, in a few words, tell me, the pressure's so different having your obviously, first game rookie lap. That's on the road. Now coming home, he's gonna have two suites full at that game on Saturday against Washington. Again, playing Alex Ovechkin, no
Hmm.
slouch. What type of pressure, as compared to tonight, do you think that falls under for him?
You want me to be honest? Just having seen the way that Matthew Schaefer conducts himself and contains himself in certain situations, I think that there's going to be less pressure. He's already been around the fan base, around the Islanders organization for so long. He's played his fair share of preseason games at UBS. He knows that rink. He knows what's up. So I think it's just another game. Right now, he played in Pittsburgh. That was his road game. He got his feet wet. He kind of got all those jitters out. So now it's just a matter of, hey, let's go home instead of having people not necessarily boo you, but not cheering for you. You're gonna go. You're gonna go into your home arena and play three straight where you're gonna have all the love and affection of the fans. And if he played anything like he did tonight, his confidence is only going to shoot up higher. So in terms of pressure, I think that Matthew Schaefer has already shown us what he can do with pressure on him. And he's one of those guys where he excels with pressure. So I feel like just having I mean, listen, he starts his career crazy. You got Crosby, you got Ovi, you got Hellebuck, you have McDavid. Then you have the Senators who have a Tim Stutzel. They have a Chuck. They have a Pinto. They have a Sanderson, like you said, So it's like he's out there like playing against the biggest names in hockey in the first handful of his games. So I feel like as we kind of proceed through the next couple weeks of games, that pressure people might think is going to elevate, but I think that he's just going to settle and he's going to get more comfortable, and we're going to see the Matthew Schaefer that should have and did go first overall.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Especially like you said, these first few games. And I know you mentioned Hellebuck, but you know, Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, like
No, yeah,
he's gonna have his
yeah,
hands full
yeah.
defensively. So, putting aside whatever he's gonna be able to do on the offensive side of the puck. Um, so looking forward towards Saturday, obviously home opener. Drop a rough one tonight, 4-3 again. Really overall good, I would say solid first performance on the road against a team that's already played against the Rangers, who is again no slouch of a team, whatever you want to say about them. Um, Washington's been kind of waiting around now. They're not playing another game until they come into UBS on Saturday. What can you expect to change, maybe for the Islanders to continue outside of the obvious? Obviously, I know that they've been, they're going to keep hounding and saying they're going to be working on their special teams, but do you think we see any line changes, or do you think it's relatively more of the same?
You actually took the question right out of my mouth. If you stopped your question when I thought you did, I was going to say I have a follow up question before I answer yours, and I was going to ask about the lineup. For me personally, I say you keep the lineup exactly as is. I
Yeah.
don't think that there's a reason to change it. I don't think that we saw anything too terrible. As you said, I'm going to pounce on the special teams. I'm going to say we're going to have to clean up the PK. What I assume they're going to skate tomorrow. Maybe focus a little bit on that. If you don't skate, do some video. You know what I mean? Do some video, walk through it. It doesn't have to be any high intensity stuff, but just get a walkthrough. Know what you did wrong. It's still early in the season to kind of clean it up. You know what I mean? Last year they ranked 31 in both PK and PP. This year it can't be the same. So that's the one major difference that I'd make. Other than that, I don't hate the game that they played. I think they need to get their feet under them. It's a new season. Obviously, the pace isn't mid-season yet, but we're going to see that sooner or later. These guys have been skating all summer. They played their fair share of preseason games, so now it's just a matter of finding that chemistry, finding that rhythm, and getting in that groove, that mid-season groove.
Yeah, biggest thing that I'm going to look for is, guess what? You're home. You get to pick your matchups.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight,
Home ice
I think
advantage.
overall they played pretty well against, again, a
Mm-hmm.
decent forward core. Obviously, star-studded with Malkin, Crosby, so on and so forth, Ricardo Cal. Um, yeah, I mean, if you're going to get an opportunity for your next three games to be at home, and you're going to get to match your guys up, and then again, nothing to Schaefer, but you don't want to be throwing Schaefer into the fire. You don't want to be feeding him to the wolves. You don't want him to be up against Ovechkin maybe once or twice, fine, but you don't want it
Mm-hmm.
to be every shift. Same thing with when they play the Jets. I don't want to see him against Kyle Connor every single shift. Again, good to get his feet wet. He's gonna have to do it at some
If
point.
it happens, it
But
happens, but don't force it.
but that's why he's on the third line to
No.
start with Scott Mayfield. And you know what? I want to give Scott so much credit because guess what? Everyone shits on Scott Mayfield. I love Scott Mayfield, and I shit on him too. But not and I know Shannon and Thomas Hickey and Cal, they all said it on the broadcast tonight, but I'm going to reiterate what they said. You know, Scotty isn't just playing for his own job, his contract, and obviously to play what the game he needs to play, but he's also playing to be a mentor for Matt Schaefer. And a lot of people question and like, why would you want Scott Mayfield as, as a mentor? And
Hmm.
I think you could say it better than I can, obviously, because of your actual position in hockey. But for me, I think it's pretty simple. Have a guy, Schaefer is offense first. Have a guy who's defense first, hard nosed, and can show him the ropes. It's as simple as that. Kind of keep a leash on him per se, as opposed to, pairing him with Tony D and just having it be a free for all. No defense, all offense. So, and Scotty's a vet. He's one of the most respected guys on that team, regardless of what any of the fans want to say.
He might be
I
the
think it's the
team's
perfect fit.
enforcer. He's the guy that oversees
He is at this
everything.
point. We got nobody else at this point to be
Yeah.
the enforcer, so it is him.
Yeah. And listen, like one thing that I will add is okay, Scott Mayfield's been an unbelievable mentor. He's been whatever, but look what the Islanders did when Sorokin was coming over from Russia. What did we do? We
Yep.
signed Varlamov. Well, I mean, aside from the fact that Varley was just a good tandem with Sorokin, it was also the fact that he was Russian. If I'm not mistaken, not it was between Varley and Thomas Grice, but it was we're gonna keep Varley. We're not gonna re-sign Grice because of that Russian connection. You need mentors to help these guys out. And at the end of the day, someone like Scott Mayfield, I mean, he's someone whose brother's in the military. What does that exactly mean to him? I'm not sure. But if he's anything like his brother in the military, he's got structure. And structure is
Yeah.
a whole lot in playing professional hockey. Listen, I might not be at that level, but I'm around the game. I see how things operate. Hockey players are creatures of habit. And Matthew Schaefer knows what he has to do to be prepared. But I hate to break it to him, you're an 18-year-old playing a men's game at the highest level. Your routines might have to get shifted and reshaped for you to succeed in this league. We saw it in his first shift. He played very, very conservative. He kept the puck in front of him. He was on the right side of the puck. He didn't let anyone on the wrong side of him in terms of defensive positioning. Then as the game proceeded, you saw him take his rushes. You saw him try to walk through a defenseman cutting down the middle. And that's the kind of confidence you want out of this young kid. So someone like Mayfield, he's going to be in the back end. He's not rushing the puck. Scott Mayfield rushes the puck. My God, if you're Schaefer, you'd get back to the far blue. But until that happens, listen, I was a little iffy about that pairing. I was the first one to say, hey, I don't think Schaefer should play big minutes, but I don't know if Mayfield's the guy that you should play with, kind of a liability aspect. But seeing how things have played out, once again, you don't know until you try. We've tried it out, and it doesn't seem like a terrible fit, at least to start. Is that who I want Schaefer playing maybe the entire season with or his first couple seasons with? Absolutely not. But to get him kind of going, to get the wheels turning in the league, I don't hate it. I don't hate it because on top of it, he's got someone to watch his back if somebody runs him.
Just getting him acclimated is really all that we can ask for at this point. And yeah, again, really to wrap it up, I think overall, a lot of positives that we could take out from the first game. Obviously, there's always going to be negatives. We're not, cup contenders yet, but a lot of positives that could be taken out of tonight's game. Big stretch coming up, pretty big homestand, obviously opening up on Saturday. Pretty tough opponents. What do we got? Winners of the East. Well, in terms of point wise, you have the President's Trophy winners in the and
Winners of the
wow, on
East,
both
the
sides.
West.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you. On
yeah,
both sides of the East and the West, and obviously then
yeah.
you have McDavid in town and the winners of the West. Couldn't put my words there, but
No, no,
yeah,
no. We
no,
we get it. We get it.
pretty big stretch coming up. Um, Obviously, never too early to start counting your wins and counting your points.
No.
And hey, again, no expectations. This isn't a year where we got to make the playoffs. would love to make the playoffs because that means we're progressing way ahead of schedule. But just do what you got to do, put some wins together early, and go from there. Got a big 3-game homestand coming up, so hopefully we can get a win on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, at the end of the day, those early season points could be the difference between making the playoffs and missing the playoffs. We saw it a few years ago when the Islanders missed the playoffs by a point. We saw it last year when if the Islanders lost
Every year,
one
man.
game to the Rangers or went to overtime one time with the Rangers, guess what? Matthew Schaefer would be on the wrong side of this rivalry. So it's the little things, and it begins now. Game 1 of 82. Now it's behind us. We move on to the next. There's 81 more games to play this season, and I'm beyond excited. I'm beyond stoked. The young guns were definitely blazing today. So it gives me a lot of hope for the rest of the season, and more importantly, to Saturday. Unfortunately, I have to work, so I will not be able to attend. But I know that you're gonna give me the full inside scoop. I'm not sure if you've seen Schaefer yet in person, but I've had a couple chances to see him, whether it was the rookie camp, training camp, preseason games. But I don't know. This kid's going to get an ovation. Something like, I think it's going to be something that we've never seen before. This kid's one of one in the league right now, and the Islanders got to take advantage of it, and I feel like they've been doing a pretty good job of that so far, which is a little surprising to say.
Yeah, trust me, you'll be getting all the behind the scenes stuff, plenty of pictures and videos, which we'll have up on the Instagram as well from that game. I'll be there pretty early, meeting some people. Hopefully, gonna get to go down to ice level, kind of see what's up. But yeah, no, really big weekend coming up. A little homecoming for the team, and yeah, hopefully they can put a little bit of a stretch together to open up the season home.
Yeah, I mean, hey, like we said, game 1, it's a long season. It sucks to suck. I mean, one loss, it is what it is. The Penguins, we'll give them their wins now. Give them early because later in the season when we need them, we'll take them. But yeah, that's a wrap for the Island Time podcast. We got a big week, three games at home. What are your predictions? 3-game homestand.
I think they take the one against Washington. I'm gonna give you a score too. I think that they actually win that game 4-2.
Okay.
I think that they really, they continue where they left off offensively and they tighten up the small things. They don't take a lot of dumb penalties. Which again, Washington, last thing you want to do is take dumb penalties against me. I don't got to talk about Ovi in his office. I got them going. I'd like to say that they win 2. I'm gonna say they go 1-1-1. I think they would beat Washington. Out of the other 2, I'm actually gonna say that they lose to Winnipeg, but that they at least take Edmonton past regulation every single year. Every single year. Whenever they play on Long Island, and I've been to like the last 3 that they've played
Yeah.
Edmonton, always an overtime game. Every year. Last year it was Draisaitl OT winner. I think they at least come out of this with 3 points. I'd like to say that they come out with 4. In my eyes, you get 3 of 6 points against those 3 teams. I look at it as a win. Obviously, would love more, but like I said, 3 of the top 5 teams last year in the league. Absolutely going to take 3 if you can get them.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm shooting for the stars. I think 2 of those 3 games go into overtime. The 2 games that
Yeah,
I think go into overtime are Winnipeg and Edmonton. I was actually going to bring up the same thing. I feel like the last 2-3 Edmonton games that I've been to, because I've been to the last couple as well, have all gone to overtime. I remember that Dobson winner. Yeah, that Dobson winner
yep.
on New Year's Day,
Yeah,
the
New Year's
Draisaitl
Day, two,
last
three
year.
years ago.
Yep.
Yup.
So those are my 2 games that go into overtime, but I have the Islanders going 2-0-1. They're going to beat the Caps. Uh, they're going to beat Edmonton, and they're going to lose to Winnipeg in OT. That's my prediction. But hey,
Better man than me. I hope you're right, man.
five of 6 isn't bad. But like you said, 3 of 6 isn't bad. But just considering the competition. But I'd love 5 of 6. That'd be very
Yeah.
ideal considering that we're 0 for 2 right now.
Yeah, absolutely going to be a raucous barn on Saturday, so very excited for that one. But we'll get all those pictures and videos over on the Instagram as well.
Yeah. Well, as I said, that's a wrap for the Island Time podcast. Game 1 out of the way. Home opener up next on Saturday. So we'll get to that and a few more games next time we talk. So enjoy Saturday. Let me know how it goes. Keep an eye on Schaefer. Make sure no one touches him. And till next time.